Thank you everyone for subscribing to Infinitely Productions. If you have not done so, please click the bell and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy our content.
And unfortunately, my dad passed away at the age of 103. And he was the oldest living made guy in America for sure. I believe maybe the whole world. I don't think anybody has that kind of a run in that life. I got to tell you that. But he was sorely missed. And you know, look, my dad and I had some disagreements, no doubt about it. But in the end, you know, we got it together as best as we possibly could. Obviously, he wasn't happy when I walked away, but we had a pretty deep discussion about it at one point in time. And he would never say it publicly, but privately he understood. And I believe he was happy for me. But anyway, so you come into that life, like I said, you come in as a soldier, motivated to do two things: get dad out of prison, and secondly, I wanted to make money. My dad says, in this life you make money, it translates to power, not unlike the real world. And I got to tell you this, after we all got made that night, we went into another room and we had a banquet, right? What do Italians do every time anything happens? It's an excuse to eat, right? We love to eat. I just got back from Italy, by the way. How many of you have been to Italy? Okay. If you haven't, you got to put it on your bucket list. It's the greatest vacation, the greatest place to visit anywhere. I got to tell you that. I might be a little biased, but I don't think so. Everybody says that, but it's just amazing. I've been there several times. I love the homeland. But anyway, where was I? I kind of lost my head. Oh, so we're having a banquet, and one of the guys come in. One of the soldiers comes in, and he's got a bag, and he says, "Okay, boss, should I give everybody their bag of money now?" You know, the irony being, everybody thinks you come into that life and all of a sudden you become wealthy. Everybody's throwing money at you. Just the opposite. Okay, you got to be paying up. You got to make your own way in that life. Don't believe anybody tells you. You probably heard it this way, that nobody's giving you anything. You got to make your way. So, you saw the DVD. I'm not going to get into all of it there. You can ask me in the Q&A, but I was fortunate. I knew how to use that life to benefit me in business. I was pretty aggressive on the street, worked 24/7. That's all I cared about at that point in time. Went on to make a very significant amount of money. And, you know, in 1980, the boss of my family at that time, Carmine Persico, "Mike, you're doing a great job." He said, "I'm going to make you a Capoeira and a captain." And from 1980 until about 95, when I consider myself formally removed from that life, I operated in that capacity. And I'll tell you a few things, you know, because it's been highly publicized. You probably don't know, but back in the day, I was in the gasoline business. And I created a scheme with another guy. Not created it, I want to make this clear. I wasn't the only guy that was doing it. There was other guys on the street that were doing it. But I will say this, I think we did it better than anyone else, okay? Because we had the system down right. And I ran that operation for about almost 8 years. We had all the Russians from Brighton Beach. We had a good crew there that were working with us. We went on to make a very significant amount of money. And, you know, just to give you an idea, I had about 350 gas stations at that time. I either owned or operated all through the Northeast, right down to Florida. And I had 18 Panamanian companies that were licensed to collect the tax on every gallon of gasoline. So we had a real deal going. At the height of my operation, we were selling 500 million gallons of gas a month. We were taking down 20, 30, 40 cents a gallon. We were bringing in $8 to $10 million a week at that point in time. It was a big operation, and people, I will tell you this now, every single time I go to a gas station to fill up my car, it's painful. It's painful. Especially living out in California where the tax is 72 cents a gallon state and local, and another 18 cents federal. And just give me a month, and I would clean up in that. I still have to do it, you know, but I'm not going to do it, you know. And I got to tell you this, people, you know, I'm in church and I'm giving my testimony and talking. People ask me up with it, and I'm going to be honest with you. I have no moral issue whatsoever with stealing money from the government. I don't. No moral issue, because I believe I can do better with the money than they can. All they're going to do is throw it out or give it to us. I don't know where they're going to send it, but a lot of them line in their pockets with it. But anyway, I won't do it. I'm not going to go back to jail. I got a family to hold bit. If I was single, I don't know if I could make that statement. But anyway, but yeah, we were doing very, very well at that point. I had a bunch of guys working for me. We had a whole big thing. And I got to tell you how good it got at some point in time. Everybody know who Tony Salerno was. He was the head of the Genovese family, right? Okay. He was a great guy, I have to say this. And I knew him fairly well. And I got a call one day, it was not a call, but somebody called me and said, Tony wants to see you. And he had a place in Harlem, right? That's where his social club was. So I go put it on record with my guy, and I said, Tony wants to see me. You do that whenever, you know, a boss of another family wants to see you. So I go see him. And it was a day in the summer. He was sitting out by his social club with a couple of guys. And he was sitting there right out of Central Casting, if you know him. He had the fedora, the cigar, you know, the gravelly voice. He was great. And a little bit on that stocky side. You didn't say that name to his face, but they called him Fat Tony, you know that. So I pull up and we're talking a little bit, and he says, hey Mike, let me ask you a question. I said, what? He says, this gas business, I hear you're doing pretty good. I said, yeah, Tony, no complaints, everything's good. He said, you making money? I said, Tony, I'm doing okay, yeah, no problem. He said, I need a favor for you. I said, Tony, you're the boss, anything you want, whatever I can do. He says, I got these mamalukes around me. He said, they can't earn 3 cents. He says, you give them a job? I said, Tony, don't worry about it, I give them a job. He said, what will they do? I said, well, I have a lot of gas stations. I said, how about I put them in charge of a gas station and run it for me? He says, okay. I said, but Tony, don't let them rob me. You know, these guys rob you. I'll cut off their hands, their ears. Well, you don't have to do that. But I said, just make sure they're okay. He said, no problem. He said, how much are you going to pay him? So now I'm thinking, you know, I don't want to insult him. I want to say the right thing. I said, Tony, how about I give him $1,500 a week in cash? Will that work for you? He looks at me, he goes, drops the cigar, he says, $1,500? Give them 500, give me the 1,000. I said, Tony, you got it. Just like that. I said, hey, you got it, whatever you want, right? I'll tell you something, people, when you're in that kind of action, you make a lot of friends. You know, people want to be around you, certain things. You also make some enemies, you know, it goes both ways. But I'll tell you what happened with that. When I realized what I had, because there was a guy that came to me, and a lot of people think that we would sit in our social clubs and plan the next business that we were going to corrupt. You know, I use that word. It wasn't that way. So often, somebody within a business would come to us. They had a plan to somehow defraud their company. They figure, hey, I can talk to this guy, I can finance him, he'll never snitch on me, I got protection, we can do this together. Happens so often. That's how I got involved in the gas business. Guy came to me who was being extorted by some other guys in another crew. I was able to help him out. We went in business together, and we put this scheme together. And it happened quite often like that. And when I found out, when I realized what I had, I went to my boss at the time, and I said to him, listen, I got something. I said, I'm going to show you more money than you ever saw in your life. And he looked at me immediately and said, we don't do drugs. I said, Junior, you know I hate anything to do with drugs. I said, I know that. And by the way, people, and for those of you that watch me on YouTube, whenever I say this, people jump, Michael, that's not true. You know, during our era, during my time in that life, we were not allowed to deal with drugs. We were told straight out, no drugs. Thank you. And if you deal with drugs, you die. And you know what? Unfortunately, I know some people that suffer that consequence. We were not drug dealers. We weren't major drug dealers. Were some guys doing it on the side, sneaking? Hey, we're street guys. Yeah, some guys were doing that. But not anything like the cartels or like, you know, in Sicily and Italy, different story. They do different things back there. We did not do that here. So I said, Junior, it's not drugs. He said, well, what is it? I said, it's gas. He said, gas. I said, yeah, it's a scheme, the government tax, the whole thing. I said, but Junior, here's the deal. I said, when this gets out on the street, everybody's going to want to get involved. I'm telling you, there's going to be big money here. I said, you can't let that happen because we're going to blow it. I said, so anytime I got to sit down with anybody, I said, I got to win. You got to back me up. Please, no politics, no nothing. You got to back me up. So he looked at me, I'll never forget. He sat back, he said, show me. Okay. A couple of weeks later, I started to show him. And I can tell you, in the 7 years that I was in this, I never lost an argument. You know, I got to tell you, in that life, money means a lot. You carry yourself the right way. You try to handle things the right way. Inevitably, you're going to have a problem, and I'm going to get into that because it's one of the transitions. You know, we have defining moments in our life, if you think about it. defining moments that really have an impact on us and cause us to do things or maybe change the course of our life. Defining moments, sitting down with my dad.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinite Lee Productions. We love ya.